Well, hello neighbors. John, your whiskey neighbor here, and I wanted to open up the new year with good Canadian whiskey. This one is part of the Wayne Gretzky series that came out actually a couple of years ago now. It's the third of that first small batch series. This one is the 99 proof Wayne Gretzky Canadian whiskey. So, thanks for joining me here on the porch. It's January and the weather flipped from about minus 16, minus 18 in wind to plus 6, which I know is regular in Calgary, but up here in St. Albert, near Edmonton, that's pretty rare. Anyways, I want to talk to you about the third bottle in the first release of this whiskey from the Wayne Gretzky Estate. This one is the 99 proof, and I know at first it was released as a travel exclusive, and so I never saw it. I don't do enough traveling. And then it was released as a 1 liter, but this is down to the 750 ml, and it's on the shelves in regular liquor stores now. So what I can tell you about this is, I like this bottle. I like the same bottle shape as the others in the series. But what I like here is it says right on here, you know, the distiller is Joshua Beach. I've talked to you guys before about him. I know he was involved in his own distillery before brought in by the Gretzky Estates. He's trained in Scotland. He's got some history and some cred. It says right here, 100% Ontario, malted rye, regular rye, and corn. It's aged in American oak. It's got Joshua's name on here. It's finished in Cabernet Sauvignon barrels, bottled at 49.5 or 99 proof, hence the 99 proof name. I'll give you an idea of this. It came out. There are 3. The red cask, which is, I think, the same whiskey, but aged in red wine barrels from the Wayne Gretzky winery. Then the ice cask, which I have here, same, but aged in ice cask. And then this is aged exclusively in their Cabernet Sauvignon barrels. So we'll give it a nose. It's a little cold outside. Warm for January, but some of this will be from memory. Nose on this. Very quickly, the dominant feature really across all of the this release of the Wayne Gretzky whiskeys are those wine notes, right? So we've got red, fruit, but in keeping with this family as well, a fairly waxy note almost, even on the nose. Yeah, and then if you lean in, you spend time with it, you let it open up. Maybe I should warm it up, let it get back to at least room temperature. And then you can get into the toffee, bit of spice. Yeah, in the end there, a little bit of clove and baking. But the first thing you're going to notice in the nose is that red fruit. That wine characteristic is just strong on all of them. Yeah, but that, that high sweet caramel, like a very sweet toffee, like a Werther's. So a lot of brown sugar or sugar in that toffee. Spice just on the very end of the nose. All right, I'm going to give it a taste for you, or for me. Cheers. It's quite full. Some of that wine characteristic continues, but actually the predominant there will be more of a sweet corn, butter, toffee, rounded very quickly with spice, a rye spice, or an oak spice even. Yep, and there are even some cinnamon, some spice, but in the sweet area. So, lots of wine in the nose. red fruit, that kind of thing. Lots of caramel, toffee, buttery things in the mouth. It's got a good mouthfeel. Finish is medium. Actually, there I find the finish a little black tea, a little tannic. That's the only thing I would say. It doesn't finish as well as I'd really like it to. But pretty good, you know, and at bottled at 99 proof or 49.5, it holds up well. It's good in the glass. It's nice to sip. Very full in the mouth. Criticism would be that waxy character that's still there. Thankfully, it's pretty low in this one, and that finish is now the long finish. Now as I talk, is pretty good. But there's sort of that almost that right away finish. There's a little bit of a bitter that tastes not as good as I'd like. So on its own, this still, you know, strong bottle. I like that they've written a few more things on the front of it. I like the higher proof for sure. And it's pretty tasty and it's unique. If you haven't had a lot of that wine finished whiskey, I think you should have something like this in your bar. And certainly as a Canadian, it's hard to get more Canadian than something out of Gretzky. And so I'm happy with this. This bottle of the three is absolutely my favorite. And I would say this pushes into the 4-star rating. This is good whiskey. It's got some shortcomings though. I'd like to compare it a little bit against the ice cask. The ice cask is the medium one. So this is bottled at 41.5. And it's finished, I think it's really the same thing. It's got rye, malted and unmalted corn. This nose is far higher when I nose it. When I talk about the sweetness, the same waxy characteristic is there, but the nose has a really high sweetness, a florally sweetness maybe. And lighter in the palate. Now it's also like quite a bit less ABV, but it tastes lighter in the palate. It is lighter in the palate. So for the challenge with Wayne Gretzky is they're really priced their whiskey in a tough place. By that I mean the red cask I think is a fine $30 bottle, but it sits on the shelf at $40. And this ice cask, I find it tasty. This is good stuff. But it sits on the shelf at like $65, and it should be $45 maybe. $50 maybe, but anyways, and then this is priced way too high. This 99 proof, I just shared with you, the liquid itself, I like it. Tastes young. It's got some rough edges. That finish, something's wrong. The waxy characteristic a little bit, you know, and mid palate, it also tastes a little bit brash. And you can tell. I don't know what the age in here, but I would be shocked if it's anything older than 4 or 5 years. Which is pretty young. I think this could even be 3-year-old whiskey, but carefully selected and then finished nicely. But it's priced at $100 on the shelf, which is, I'm sorry, but there's a lot of really excellent whiskey for $100. Now, it's got some rye bite, it's got some spice, it's got good things, but I happened to get it for $65 because it was mispriced as this bottle. And the owner, I said, oh no, that's mispriced. I wasn't anyway grumpy. And he's like, oh, well, I'll give it to you for that. So got it at $65. And frankly, this should be $65. This could be $55. And the other one should be $35 maybe. That's a bit on the Wayne Gretzky. I poured Bareface because it actually, I really feel that it almost belongs in this Wayne Gretzky range. And by that I mean, you know, they didn't distill their own juice. They sourced it, and then they finished it in Cabernet Sauvignon barrels, and then a little bit of Hungarian virgin oak. Love the bottle. Looks great. The interview I heard with these guys is incredible. This is 42.5%. And since it kind of belongs here, I thought I'd give you a quick, if you're still with me, you can sign off anytime. But nose is actually pretty similar. Excuse me. I would almost say it's a little juicier. It's a juicier nose. Yeah, it's the fruit is alive. It's fresh. It's maybe closer to the 99, a little more than the ice cask. And that's where they really differ. So this one is a 7-year-old whiskey, and then it's finished. In Cab Sav and Hungarian Virgin Oak. This is probably 3 or 4-year-old whiskey, and then finished ice cask, same thing, 3 or 4-year-old. If you like high fruit, that wine finish excites you, and you like smooth, pretty sweet drinking whiskeys, you'll probably like Bareface. It's missing one key thing, and I don't know if it's their cask selection. Well, they're a little bit the Hungarian son. He said, hey, I'm here. Pay attention. But these guys clearly have rye in them, and it's younger rye. That's where the 3-4-year-old whiskey works for them. These guys, the nose, there's something waxy in it. I wish it didn't have that. This doesn't have it. The nose is maybe a little better. But when you drink this, if you like some of that peppery, spicy, this isn't, heavy rye, but it has a little more meat to it. And I personally like that. So might totally differ. This is an older whiskey and it's priced like $35. This is great and you should try that. But for me, it's a little too sweet, little too smooth, little too fruity, all of those things to make it a true favorite. Definitely deserves to be in your bar for something unique. This, if you like Canadian whiskey, will probably be a little closer to home because there definitely is rye and it makes itself known. So that's my thoughts here on this just great January day. Good to be with you all here. Thanks for joining me on the porch, and I hope to see you guys soon. If you haven't yet, think about subscribing. Throw a few comments. What's your experience with this Canadian lineup? Have you tried the Gretzkys, all of them? Have you checked out Bareface yet? Or what do you think? Anyways, thanks for joining me on the porch. You guys have a great day.